Hi everybody, Scott and Laurie back on off the Starboard Hull on our beautiful boat Muskoka, and we've had a great response to our, there's Laurie now, waving goodbye. We've had a great response to our video that we just released yesterday on things we liked about the boat, and we've had so many questions on the electrical and the batteries and stuff that we decided to do this little video for you. So enjoy! Hopefully it answers all your questions. Hey everybody, we just posted a video on things we liked and disliked on the boat, and it's becoming painfully obvious to both Laurie and I, my camera lady, that you guys, there she is, that you guys are really interested in stuff that goes on in the boat and really don't care too much about where we are and what we do for the actual trip. I'm not sure why that is, but you know what? We're going to go with it. We've got dozens and dozens of comments on our stuff on the boat that we liked and disliked. Most of the comments are ones that are really smart ones, and so we're gonna expand a bit on it. Probably the biggest one is batteries. Why did we not go to lithium ion? Why didn't we? As we said before, it was $30,000. Now everybody that's doing lithium's going, not $30,000. I purchased Master Volt batteries, which from my experience and from what I learned was the best of the best. And I was kind of scared off by my insurance company about doing my own system, which I would have preferred to do. It would have been 1/3 of the cost, but having said that, I just decided not to do it. I spent that $30,000, or didn't spend the $30,000, basically because we don't have the $30,000 to spend. And we upgraded the batteries to AGMs, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a lowdown of my electrical system because everybody asks about it. I didn't expand on the solar part of it because I was afraid of liability of people doing stuff, blowing their boats up, and I'm an electrician, so I've seen a lot of really, really crappy installations. Mine's functional, simple, and I guess we'll get into it a little bit here. Right now we are in the hallway of a Lagoon 400 S2, and Laurie is standing in the workshop. I am standing at the entrance to the door to our guest bedroom. So for all the people that are coming aboard in the next little while, you're sleeping on top of the batteries and the inverter and the solar controllers, and yeah, just don't think about it too much and it'll just be fine. Okay, so here we go. Come on in. So we have a lot of room underneath our bed. Okay, so what Laurie is showing you, this right here is our Xantrex inverter, and this over here, right here, is one of my 6-volt Lifeline batteries. This one here is stuck out in the side here because there wasn't enough room where the batteries are supposed to go. And then on the inside here are the remaining 3 batteries. Each one is 400 amp hours at 6 volts. You can see the tags. I've checked the voltage. I do it regularly. So they're all running really well. And this is my shunt that came with the boat. This here is my shunt right here. Okay. I just left it hooked up, and so I get some information from Master Volt, and I get information from my Xantrex. If you just take a look here, you'll see all of the switching and wiring. These are breakers down here. These are breakers. This is the actual shut-offs for the boat. And the reason I put both panels on or 2 controllers to control one panel is if one side is shaded, the other side is picking up 100%. If one side screws up, the other one's still working. It's a little bit of redundancy. It costs a little bit more to put 2 controllers in, obviously, but for us, it seems to be working. This is, that panel there is my electrical box, and so I needed to get to it, and so we just ran cable, electrical cable, you can kind of see that's my wires going to the inverter. The Xantrix mounted here is because of the size. And that's it. I think you got the idea about the 6-volt batteries. I have 4 of them. They're 400 amp hours at 6 volts, so I have 800 amp hours total on the boat. Most people don't think that's enough. Some people think it's too much. All I can tell you is it works. So on a Lagoon 400, and most of Lagoons, here's the bed, and then here's the front of the bed. You have storage here for sheets or containers or whatever you want. Big drawer, covers up the batteries. And then underneath the drawer, so here's the drawer. Underneath the drawer is the electrical. Now on a boat that's built in France, it has a ground shut off. So I can turn this and it shuts all the grounds off. And this is one bank of batteries, this is the other bank of batteries, and that's my shut-offs for my batteries. This is how you stop the people from stealing your boat. You turn the batteries off, they can't start it up. So these little devices here are breakers. This is a breaker for my panel at the water maker. We'll get into that in a second. This is for my port solar panels, starboard solar panels. This is for my power winch, which raises my mainsail, and this is for my windlass. So all of the main breakers are here right beside the batteries. So the downside to having all the batteries and all the electricals underneath the bed is that if you want to work on it, you have to take the bed out. So here's our bed, and this is stuff that was sitting on top of the bed. It's a boat, folks, what can I say? So the other thing I wanted to talk about was when you buy a boat, or a new boat, or even or especially a new boat, there's an existing electrical system, and if you want to add things, a lot of people will just find a power feed anywhere and just keep adding to it. What I suggest that you do is let the stock system stay stock. If you want to add something, pick on a catamaran. I got 4 different locations. And I dragged cables right directly from the electrical panel to certain parts of the boat. And the reason I did that was so that I could have power in different parts of the boat, and I would use that if I needed to add something. I could go to those locations which I knew were fused properly, and I put in external pony panels, I call them. I don't know what they're called in the marine industry. In the industrial, they're called pony panels. Little tiny panels, fused, and I can go to those and fuse them directly, so I'm not overlapping the factory stuff. I'm not adding to it and all that. I'm working fresh. So I'll give you a little show of what I consider a pony panel and why they make sense, not just to me, but to, I would think, just about anybody. So, okay, I'm coming out of the port hull where the electrical is, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an oversight of how and what I mean by pony panels and trying to add things, because you're going to add stuff, but you might as well do it safely. So what I've done is this is a pony panel, and you can see it right there. So what I've done is I've brought electrical feeds from, I brought these feeds here all the way from the electrical panel, and then it's fused back at the electrical panel, and then these individual fuses here, are for certain devices, and everything's kind of organized. So you get it, here's the negative, here's my positive, and that's a pony panel. Each circuit has something that wasn't on the boat when it was stock. So you say, well, what is it? So here's what it is. You've got, all my grounds are on the top. Here's my panel. As you remember, the panel's there. this is I just trace the panel around, and on this breaker here is washdown pump, which I've added, water maker, which I've added, radar, which I've added, toilet, which I've added, navigational panel, which I added, and my Sea-Talk feed. So what I did was I added a pony panel, and I cut this hole, added it there. It says here that the 25 amp feed is from my main, and it's labeled inside, as you saw, and that's one pony panel. So there's a distribution center for power. If I need to add something else anywhere up here in this sort of I'm in the salon. If I want to add anything here, I can come to this location and fuse a panel here. Fuse a panel? I can fuse a circuit here, and I haven't touched any of the factory stuff. It's all independent, and I know where it goes. I think it's a good idea. Laurie smiled.
It's all Greek to me.
Okay, I'll show you another one. So my other sort of pony panel is in this bathroom. If I want to add things to the bathroom, which I did, I'd put a toilet, and there's a few other electrical things here. There's another distribution for power. So it's not power that's come from the factory. That's something I've added, and the feed for that is right here, and it goes to the electrical panel in the middle. So I have a distribution for power here. If I want to add anything in this part of the boat, I would go to that panel. So that concludes the basically Reader's Digest version of the electrical systems on Muskoka. I think you understand that I left the stock system stock, and anything that I've added, I've layered in on top of that, fully independent, and fused all the way back to where it should be fused from. Works. If you're thinking about adding stuff, it's not a bad thing to do. A little bit more work in the beginning, but boy, it's handy. Anyway, see ya. Bye, Laura.
Bye.
Laurie says bye too. We're in San Carlos, and we're loving it.
I did a lot with that video.
Yeah. She's a funny girl. Bye.